Peace. What up? Yeah, so real quick, I just want to give feedback on the 4 major reasons why fitness is so important to me in my life. And so let's get right to it. So one reason is it made me stronger physically, made me stronger physically. I started lifting weights at about the age of 16 or 15 rather. Let's just say 15. And I at the start I didn't take it serious, but when I received that experience of becoming stronger, it changed my life. And it was more than just a physical change that took place. A light came on within, and at that time, with that physical experience, it still was a further insight for myself that it unlocked the autonomous spirit within. And what I mean is, I just automatically knew that if I could become better, or if I can become stronger by way of my own control, for lack of a better term, it was just an experience that just, again, enlightened me without someone telling me, without someone showing me. I simply started lifting weights by going to the local rec center, picking up the weights, and from that point, again, that experience of feeling like a automatic response was life changing. And I didn't understand to the degree of which I do now, of course, but yeah, I became stronger. And I've shared that in the past or in prior videos. I hated doing push-ups. So my journey of fitness started with lifting weights. At that time, I really didn't have, I didn't even know the word calisthenics back then. I didn't even know that there was a word for body weight workouts. So I knew what a pull-up was, I knew what push-ups were, of course, but I didn't even know that it was called calisthenics. But anyway, I started off lifting weights, right? And like I said, I hated doing push-ups. And I started lifting weights. So the bench press was like my favorite exercise, the bench press. I did a lot of bench pressing. And so one day, and it didn't take long, but again, I became stronger fairly quick with the weights. So I just happened to attempt the push-ups. And someone, again, who at one time really had a strong dislike for push-ups, I did the push-ups, and I did about 20 straight. And I mean, they were easy. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And in that one instance, I fell in love with push-ups. I fell in love with push-ups. And because I hated them so much, and I didn't expect for that love to be so instant. Again, my appreciation for the weights were at an all-time high, because I knew, you know, the benefits of becoming stronger from lifting the weights, but that just really further, you know, built that love and appreciation for the push-ups, right? So yeah, I didn't start off doing body weight workouts. I started off with the weights, and I was very complacent. I would do the bench press, I would do the curls with the dumbbells, some triceps, rarely, not that much. I did a lot of military press for the shoulders, and I would do the lat pull down. I would do the lat pull down. And those were the exercises that I would do every week. And becoming stronger, I have to give credit to being around an individual that I met in one day that also changed my life. So it's necessary for me to share this part. I was bench pressing, so I was complacent again, bad habit of being complacent. And I was benching 135, which is lightweight, right? But at the age of, at that time, I was 17 years old. You know, just the fact that I was doing those plates, to me, was a big deal in my mind. But I didn't understand my own potential. And what I mean is, this individual happened to be at the gym that day. I was bench pressing, and he brought to my attention that I needed to add on weight. So he suggested that I put the quarters on. So I was doing 135, and he suggested I put the quarters on, which is the 25 pounds, of course. And when you add that weight to the 135, now it becomes 185, which I've never done at that time prior to him saying that I needed to add weight, because he noticed I was stronger than what I realized, okay? And I looked at the individual and I said, "You sure?" And he was like, "No doubt." He was like, "Yo, bro, you could do more." He mentioned you repping out 15, 20 times. That in itself is more than what is obvious that you could do more, basically. I put the 185 on, and I remember bench pressing that like 10 times. And he changed my life, man. Just with that encouragement, you know, just that recognition that I didn't realize, again, that I was holding myself back. And it just took me further in my becoming stronger. So I just wanted to share that, and a salute to him. And I never seen him again after that day. And that's the interesting thing about it. You know, sometimes people, as they say, you know, come into your life for a season, a day, or, you know, a lifetime. You know how that go. And that individual changed my life forever, because from that point on, I never was reluctant, or I never stayed complacent, and I only increased the weights. And it made me stronger, not just physically, but stronger in believing in oneself, believing in myself, you know. And, you know, my model for fitness is, it goes beyond the park and the gym. You know, this is about not just being strong physically, but mentally. So this is the points that I'm hitting on with what I'm saying right now. And again, so of course my push-ups only became better from going from 20 reps to 30 to 40 to 50, and so I was good with that, but still dealing with a certain level of complacency. You know, we get, you know, we get in the habit of doing what it is we like to do, and what is our favorite. You know, that's just a human you know, characteristic, you know what I mean? And it happens. So I was introduced to calisthenics. I'm just fast forwarding to now. I don't want to stay on this one topic, or the one topic of strength. But then eventually a gentleman from my neighborhood introduced me to calisthenics, and that further changed my life. And even back then, I mean, it still was so many different levels of fitness I have yet to reach. So just to be concise with becoming stronger aspect, I started off lifting weights. I became stronger physically, but mentally I became stronger because it built my confidence. It helped me out mentally deal with, you know, certain levels of insecurities and things that, you know, went on with me, you know, in my life. You know, that's just what it helped out with, you know what I'm saying? And so let's fast forward. So I became stronger. And that was, and the reason why I'm starting off with I became stronger, because it takes time before your body starts to change and you start to see the results in the development of the physical of your body. And that was next. And so the next point I want to speak on is the looking good aspect. Okay, so again, we got 4 reasons why fitness is so important to me. First, became stronger. Second, look better. Third, purpose. And then 4th, health. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm doing in these categories. So the first one was stronger, and I just gave you a short version of what that stronger is, what that means to me, or why that was first. But let's move forward. Now, especially when you're young, when you work out, your body responds rapidly. So the way I look aspect, of course, followed up. And that was a very, 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 very crucial point of fitness becoming even more important, more beneficial to me, because growing up when I was younger, I was overweight, and I got teased a lot for that, you know, and it come with the territory. But I'm not here to really get into about how being overweight affected my life or had a negative impact on my life. But I want to mention that, yes, I was overweight, and I have to just add this part, right, before I further elaborate on why this was such an important factor for how fitness had a positive impact on me, is that I was overweight, as I said, when I was a child. And then again, of course, with that, you know, insecurities and things of that nature, right? And then fast forward, you know, in my much earlier teenage years, I started smoking marijuana, and then I lost a tremendous amount of weight. So it's so much that I could say, but I want to keep it real concise. But I was overweight when I was a child. So when I started working out and my body started to change, that was even further of a contribution to my confidence. And what I wanted to also make the point of is that fitness unlocked, again, that autonomous spirit, or further open the gates of an autonomous spirit in me that I possess the power to make the necessary change in my life. And the reason why it's so powerful, because I stumbled across fitness, okay? Nobody influenced me in terms of actually showing me how to work out. I am solely, before I started getting advice and people started giving me or further information and stuff, prior to that, I am someone who stumbled across fitness. So anyway, I started to look better. My clothes started to feel better, you know, and I understood that, again, I had the ability to make the change in order for me to make that change within of how I felt about myself. So that point is so necessary for me to make in terms of how my appearance. But still in all, I mean, I never, even at those earlier ages, my muscles I wasn't as defined at all, you know. I didn't understand how to really sculpt my body. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest, right? But I did appreciate whatever gains that I did develop, and that in itself was a huge gain for me, you know. And that's why I always emphasize that, you know, the definition and how I look now in my mid-40s, I didn't look like this until my 30s. Real talk. And it's not that, and it's really because of the lifestyle that I led for so many years. I held myself back, but I'll get to that too. So, you know, I appreciate you, following me as best as you can. There's so much that I want to say, and I'm just trying to, again, keep it as concise as possible. So it made me stronger. It made me look better. And again, even at that point, I had not reached my full potential in terms of what I knew at that time of how much how much I could have obtained at that time. So, let's move on. Let's move right along. And I guess I'll expound further in future videos, in detail of this fitness journey of mine. But I want to just hit on the 4 major points. So it made me stronger. It made me look better. And again, before I move on, I became stronger, and of course, becoming stronger, then you look better. At least that's what happened for me. I'm gonna keep it on the eye. So that me becoming stronger led up to me to look better. And of course, because I'm working out, so the body automatically is going to respond, and that change in the body structure is definitely, you know what I'm saying, is what takes form. And I was doing the exercises in its correct manner, and that's one thing I did do. I did the exercise in the correct manner. I had that mind muscle connection early. You know what I'm saying? One thing I never struggle with, feeling as if I'm not getting results. That's just me. So moving right along, all right? Purpose. It gave me purpose. And that purpose was, and I have to start here, okay? Definitely dealing with a lot growing up. I never was unhappy with life. Let me just make that clear. This ain't no drama type of feedback I'm giving. It's just the usual young man, finding oneself through, you know what I'm saying, the greatness of life, the harsh reality, so on and so forth, all right? I don't do that victim thing, no, none of that, you heard? So I just want to make that clear. But the purpose was, it helped me. It was an outlet that helped me get my mind right at those times in my life when I was dealing with some tough times with myself, and those tough times were, smoking marijuana, whatever it was back then. The reason why I had to mention that as a major point in terms of the marijuana, because I enjoyed smoking weed so much that, it kind of felt like, that was one of the main enjoyments. I'm not going to make it out to like, if I didn't have it, you know what I'm saying, I was just down and out. That wasn't the case. But the purpose it gave me, again, was always an outlet that I knew I could always reconnect with myself on a level that I could become more focused, I could feel better, and again, I could tap back and to get and regain that strength of controlling my life, okay? And that's the short version of it. You know what I'm saying? So at those younger years, again, working out, and not only that, it was a natural, beyond satisfaction. You know, it was something that I can do and not have to come out of pocket. Nobody can give it to me, and I knew and understood that early on. And that purpose, and I had a reason to do something. You know what I mean? That purpose is having a reason, and again, it just really, it always just increased my enthusiasm for life, and ultimately just feeling alive. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what a feeling, you know, and it does that for me to this day. So the purpose was and not just when I was down and out, but even when I felt good, it was just, it's just beyond what words can express, to be honest with you, for me personally, you know. And that purpose was, again, my own desire, you know. It was personal. It was something I did by myself. No, you know, it was one of my strongest, you know, ways of how I developed discipline, and I just understood what I'm trying to get at is that if I had, because I was able to be consistent, disciplined, and have the level of attention given to fitness, I just understood that the way I felt about fitness, I could feel about other aspects of my life. And that's what I'm trying to get at, you know? What I'm sharing with you on this video, it's not scripted. You know, I come from the heart, you know? So when I'm going back and forth with my thoughts to explain to you the points that I'm trying to make, you know, that's really what it is, while trying to, you know, be concise with the points being made. And that purpose was to always ultimately restore life within, and not just physical. Mentally, fitness helps me out, and even to this day, tremendously. And I know for so many others, I mean, that's why fitness is a huge way of life for so many, not just me. But I'm just giving you my experience of how much of a powerful impact it has on my life. And in health, let's move right along. So we went from, it made me stronger, it helped me with my appearance, purpose, and then health. Health came last. And not only that, and the reason why health came last, you may be wondering why, and that's because even when I was working out, I was still smoking weed, I was still drinking, and I still was eating the wrong foods. How the healthy part really came into effect is because I grew up on home-cooked meals. And growing up, I really had fast food and things of that nature. You know, my mother was the type that cooked often, and you know, when I did get fast food, that was more of like a privilege or a reward every now and then, you know. So if I got McDonald's or White Castle, whatever the case may be, it was something that I really look forward to, because I really, you know, had that as a meal growing up. So not only my mother, but you know, my aunties, you know, other women in my family cooked often, and so I'm no stranger to a good home cooked meal, and that really was later on became a huge contribution to my appreciation for eating the right way, you know, because I would once, of course, I was independent enough to buy food on my own, have my own money, and was, you know, ripping and running the streets and stuff like that. You know, I partook in a lot of corner store eating and, you know, fast food, and in your younger years now you could do whatever you want, so you take advantage, and unfortunately it becomes a detriment, you know, because we start to develop bad habits and things of that nature. So, but to fast forward, my appreciation through, you know, those home cooked meals, and then as I became more serious and disciplined with fitness, I understood, you know, the great benefits of how much the food plays a major part in, again, how I looked, you know, not just the muscle aspect, but our skin being an organ, you know, having that glow, you know. And the thing is too, I'm gonna say this, right, and this is, I just have to share this because, you know, I come from a background where, you know, when you have muscles, you know, when you look healthy, you know, there's a term that they use in the hood, and this people will associate an individual and say, you got that jail glow. And where that term comes from is typically because, you know, individuals that eventually do get locked up, you know, they let a lifestyle prior to getting locked up. So when you ripping and running the streets, you know, you're not necessarily taking care of yourself, you know, in terms of, you know, eating the right way and things of that nature. So you may be at a lighter weight than you should be, or, you know, you don't look as healthy, you know, per se. You know what I'm saying? So when individuals do come home from jail, a lot of times, you know, they look their best, you know, once they re-enter society. And, you know, so for most individuals, you know, that people are able to see them looking at their best, and that's due to, you know, not, of course, seeing that person in such a long time, and then here you are back on the scene, and, you know, you, of course, come from an environment where, you know, you dealt with structure, you got proper rest, you ate well, and you did your exercise. So, you know, a lot of your time was spent with that structure to really, you know, get you back looking your best, right? I say that to say this, but I always knew that this is beyond jail, you know, and this is a lifestyle. It's not a situation where you have to go to jail to get that glow, you know. But I just wanted to use that reality of, you know, a comparison to the point that I'm making, is that, you know, if you getting the proper rest, if you eating well, if you working out and you doing the same things that you could offer yourself with that form of structure out in society, you always going to look, feel, and be at your best. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Also, I wanted to mention that too, because when I was under those circumstances at that time, I knew and understand that it was so necessary that when I re-enter society, that I offer myself, I gift myself an everyday way of life with the abundance of options, choices, and limitless selections of the best of what we can offer ourselves out here in society. So that's the reason why I just wanted to make mention of that, because during that time and understanding, if I could look my best at that time, I could look even better when I'm out in society and I have more than what could be offered in an institution. So I just wanted to make that clear too. So those are the four reasons, major reasons why fitness is so important to me. And I also want to add this too before I close out. I like being an asset, you know, as a man or as a woman. And I just want to make mention about the autonomy, the independence, the freedom of oneself to be able to be in a healthy state, to be able to have the level of energy, to be able to enjoy life pain-free, right? We are human. You know, we get sick, things happen, right? There is a expiration date where we go back to the essence. All that is understood, right? But if we're taking care of ourselves, if we value ourselves, you know, we can have one of the greatest experiences day to day. You know, and I myself, you know, I rarely deal with, you know, getting sick or any of that. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest, you know, and that's due to the life that I lead now. You know, and listen, I ain't the one to try to convince nobody to lead a certain life. But it is important that, you know, individuals such as myself who share, you know, this type of feedback, these messages, these stories, these realities, these experiences of someone who is and has and will continue to do what's necessary to be the best version of themselves, and fitness is at the very top of the list of doing so. And again, it goes beyond the physical. You know, when you are fit, when you are in shape, again, your immune system is much stronger. You know, when you are in a healthy state, physically, your mind has that level of freedom to be able to concentrate, to focus, to, you know, absorb, to learn, to, you know, be present. You know, so that's another thing that's very important. The common cold could bring disruption in your life because you're other than yourself. You're other than your 100% self. So I just wanted to, you know, again, expound on these four major ways that fitness has been so important to me for so many years. And again, I gave you the shortest versions I can give you. And there's so much more to how my fitness journey led up to the point that it is now. But I want to say this though, on a closeout. And as I've said, and I'll continue to say, I feel, look, function, and operate better than I did when I was 18, when I was 21, when I was 30. And that's due to because I was polluting my body. You know, I still was eating unhealthy. You know, this is the last 4 years, just to be totally honest with you, is like the healthiest I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my mid-40s. I take nothing to enhance my gains, my progress. Sheer hard work, dedication, commitment. And for me, it goes beyond discipline. Just like, and what I mean is, you know, for whatever bad habits that one may currently have, we could always make change and create new habits, more positive habits. And those habits, in terms of lifestyle, could go beyond discipline. Now, I'm not perfect, you know, and I've said this in all honesty. I battle with being tempted with all sorts of delicious food, even fast food. I have to be around it. I mean, you know, it's all around us. You know, the very things that in general that I call gain snatchers are amongst us. Life is filled with temptation, but we got to be stronger than that. But in terms of the food aspect, and again, how I feel, function, and operate to this day is priceless. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to share it with you real quick. And I appreciate your patience with, you know, me making the points that I've made. So again, it made me stronger. I started to look better. It gives me purpose. And it made me a healthier individual. So, you know, I speak on this further, you know, in the future, but I just wanted to share this real quick. And we all have the ability to feel fantastic. And we all have a different way of how we obtain that experience. And every day, we got to protect it. We're going to have to fight for it. We're going to have to earn it. We're going to have to invest. We're going to deal with resistance. And with the tools of life, the information, the resources, people, places, and things, when we make the right choices to offer ourselves what's needed to make each and every day a better experience, attitude, you know, all that revolves within what fitness is to me. You know what I'm saying? It's not just lifting weights. It's not just the calisthenics. It ain't just looking good. It's a mindset. It's attitude. And it's an everyday commitment on working on oneself. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. And fitness ain't free. Like anything else in life that we buy, materialistic, you gotta invest in oneself. And I accept the challenge for me. Catch you on the next go around. Peace.